Ladies and gentlemen, we do thank you very much for your attention, and now we invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Welcome to our top travel destinations. I am your host, Kevin Flanagan. I have been editor of the weekly travel news column in the Sunday Independent and the Fine Wine and Food Guide, and I am here to use my decades of experience to help you know exactly where to stay, eat, drink, shop, and explore when visiting the world's top travel destinations. So sit back and enjoy the wonders of travel as we take off on our magical journey together. Welcome to Kevin's top travel destinations, and this week we are visiting Benidorm. Yes, my friends, this is an extraordinary adventure, which was made all the sweeter in a way because all my friends told me not to go. Yes, I was so taken aback by the prejudice against Benidorm that I've done a separate podcast in my Kevin's Travel Stories examining prejudice in travel destinations and Benidorm in particular. So please do listen to that. But this is going to be my impression of what Benidorm was like. I'd never visited it before. I was a guest of the Visit Benidorm tourist board. They are trying to rebrand and doing it very successfully, this iconic Spanish resort. So let me tell you a little bit about it and share what is a burgeoning love affair, I have to admit, with this Spanish resort. We started off flying from Dublin, where I was at that particular time, to Alicante in Spain. It's about a 30-minute drive to Benidorm itself. We were staying just outside of Benidorm. And Benidorm is a really interesting place. It has a very ancient history. There's Roman remains going back before Christ. There is a long history stretching back to about 3000 BC. Benidorm was always very centrally located and was a great place made famous by fishermen, particularly tuna fishing. And it was only when that started to run out due to the overfishing and some of the environmental impact the fishing has had, that the 1950s came along and the very far-seeing mayor of Benidorm saw that there was an opportunity to create the first package holiday, and he had such things as free cabarets every night with various artists being portrayed, and these were open. Nobody had to pay. All you had to do was buy a drink, and it really started a craze for Benidorm as the first package. So it's package holiday destination. So it has really made its mark in the world of travel, and it has been really quite a clarion caller. And I was very impressed as I got into the history of this resort, just how it has changed and challenged the norms. And there's a lot going for Benidorm. You have 300 days of sunshine. I was there as we came to the first days of November, and dear listener, it was 20 degrees at the time. It was 20 degrees, clear blue skies, really clear, beautiful seas that have blue flags. The two great beaches of Benidorm are crystal clear, and you can do so much both on land and on sea, as we shall find out. I stayed at the Melia International Hotel. It's a very big Spanish-owned range. They have hotels all around the world. They know how to look after their guests. It has pretty much everything you could want in a 5-star facility. It was big, various different swimming areas, various different places to eat. 2 great golf courses, tennis. Really also discovered that Benidorm is fabulous for families. It's so welcoming, and it's fabulous for sports enthusiasts. If you're into your biking, if you're into your paddle, into your tennis, into running, it's got everything. And when it comes to families, they've 3 fabulous theme parks, great beaches, and some of the most wonderful opportunities to enjoy family life. Plus an old town centre, which we will come back to. So, one of the things that you really get to enjoy in Spain, of course, is the food and wine. And I am going to pose you a question which I'll answer if you listen to the end of this podcast. On our first night, I sat down with my colleague Jacinta and we had a glass of Rioja. Now, in a 5-star hotel, overlooking the sea with this beautiful air and balmy evening, you would expect to be paying for a glass of really first-rate Rioja. And when I looked at the bill, I nearly fell over. So I'm going to get you to guess how much my glass of Rioja was. To give you a standard bearer, in Dublin at a classy 5-star hotel, it would be about €11 for a glass of Rioja. London, Paris, you're going to be looking at maybe even a little bit more. But I will tell you at the end. We're coming down with spas and pools, and this also is a great conference centre, and there's a great conference facility in this area. People come from around the world because, again, you have this clement weather for 300 days of the year, which makes a huge difference. It had its own microclimate, and it attracts people both who are in retirement and who want to spend the cruel winter months of Northern Europe in the more clement climate of Southern Europe. So a great place for that. We met Sergio, who became our guide for the time that we were there, and he actually took us on the most wonderful trip. He showed us how the city is very, very proud of its smart credentials. We visited the area where they coordinate everything, as I talk about briefly in the other podcast. They have a smart city, they have a green city, and they are a very water conservant city because they don't have a lot of water. And it was very interesting to see how they go about retooling everything, because the water is going to become less and less readily available as climate changes and as populations grow. So how they went about dealing with this balancing act by using water from the roofs of buildings, by creating reservoirs, was very interesting. Sergio made sure that we also started our tour by going to one of the really great wineries of the region. It's the Bodegas Enrique Mendoza. Fabulous, really rich in viticulture. Their approach to the vine is first class, as anybody who has enjoyed the great Spanish wines. And we tasted 7 different wines, from rosés to whites to some fabulous aged oaked in these extraordinary barrels that we saw how they were made, and this combination of American oak and French oak, and how some of the great reds are left in really good quality oak, which gives them a certain powerful bouquet and flavour. And that was wonderful. So if you do visit Benidorm, make sure, and you are interested in wine, make sure to go to one of the vineyards, and the Mendoza was a fabulous one. After that, we went into town, and we were really spoilt. We went to the left-hand side of if you were looking at Benidorm from the air as you fly into the resort, there's the great beach on the left, and there is a very, very well-known restaurant there, the Ulia restaurant. It's family-owned. We met the owner, and of course the great dish that they serve is paella. Now, paella properly done is one of the wonders of the culinary world. It really isn't done that well that often. So when you do get a great paella chef with a great paella tradition, the way they use a certain rice, the way they prepare things, the freshness of all the different seafoods that are put into the paella, it really actually takes the taste buds out of your head. And when you combine that with one of the great red wines, or white wines, depending on your choice, I mean, the smell of the paella, the textures, the fluffy rice, and these extraordinary scallops and mussels, and the fish, and the taste, and that tang of the sea, as you then wash it all down with a lovely wine. And all the time, you're looking out on the beach, right out to this extraordinary crescent, which is, Benidorm is on this Crescent Beach, two huge, wonderful beaches. And you're looking out and seeing the people come and go in this extraordinary, the breath of the wind as it comes in off the sea, and the kiss of the sun, and the paella and the wine. What a great way to celebrate lunch. I couldn't think of anywhere really much better. But it did get better, because that evening Sergio took us to the old town, and there is a tapas alley is really famous throughout Spain. So if you're into your tapas, make sure you go to Tapas Alley. It is this extraordinary collection of different shops. It's a bit like Venice in as much as they will harangue you to get you to sit down in the most jovial of ways. But we really enjoyed walking up and down, watching the people trying to select their hotel and their place to eat. The Taperia Orera that Sergio took us, which is a fabulous, really international reputation as a home of tapas. We had the huevos rotos, that extraordinary collection of potatoes with eggs that you mix up. We had croquettes, we had pimentos, and it was a lovely collection of food. This was a more hearty, traditional tapas type approach to eating than the extraordinarily gourmet feast we had in the afternoon. The next day, after sleeping very well that night, I'd have to say, we were taken up the hills in a jeep. Now, there are many excursions because the weather is so clement and Benidorm is surrounded by hills, and the hills offer so much. They offer the vineyards, they offer the wildlife, they offer cycling, they offer off-track sites, they offer running, hiking. There's no end to what you can do. We went in the jeep. You can go on one of the rough excursions where they bump over things. This is, I think, is for a more adventurous set. I have a different sort of sense of adventure. I didn't really want to be jumped around as I get a little bit of car motion sickness. We ended up in Guadalest, which is possibly one of the most beautiful Spanish towns that overlooks Benidorm. It's just outside in that mountain range overlooking the great city of Benidorm. And in Guadalest, I can remember sitting at the coffee shop. There's a salt and pepper museum. It's not sort of a small town mentality at all. And to walk around Guadalest, having taken in the coffee and the lovely Iberico ham, in 22 degrees it was then, had to put the sun cream on, going right up to the old church, looking out over the valleys. In the far distance is a sparkling sea, smelling the lime coming off the trees, feeling the wind in your hair, the sun kissing down on your brow, the hustle and bustle of eager, energetic visitors, and that sense of well-being that comes with all of that. How wonderful, how wonderful. Then we went down to the old town and we were shown both sides of the beaches. If you go to Benidorm, you can go into the central part and you can actually, there's a little sort of promontory, and on your left is the more newer part with some very classy hotels. On the right is the older part, Levant Beach, and that's where you have the famous or infamous Brit Quarter, if you like. It's quite confined to just a certain part of it, and that's where the famous Brits Abroad and the Benidorm shows, which I talk about in the other podcast, the prejudices, in fact, have come from those shows. But it's a very small part. It's like a tenth of Benidorm, and it's extraordinary how it's sort of hogged the headlines, if you like. After that, we walked through the old town streets. These were quiet in the middle of the day. We're just sort of outside of season as it came into November. There was a softness of the air as you walk down these streets, and old history echoing around. We came across this lovely, beautiful restaurant called La Fava, which is run by someone who loves and is a master chef, a master craftsman. And he did the bollo alla palla and fezzols, some extraordinary dishes matched with local wines. This was a gourmet treat of the highest order. So you can go from very simple tapas to this level of quality cuisine. And I was so privileged to see this man at work, and all the food we ate, the 7 or 8 tasting dishes, he made pretty much in front of us. Extraordinary. That afternoon I went back. I do love the art of golf, if you like, the meditation that golf gives, I think, as you reach a certain age. And I enjoyed some putting courtesy of the golf director there, and saw the people coming and going. I'll go back, I hope, to play a couple of rounds on those 2 extraordinary courses. There are many great courses in the Benidorm area. And that night we had a really wonderful meal. We went down to the Primavera. This is a hotel, and the Primavera Park, and there's the Exotico. They have a bar on the rooftop, which gives you these incredible views of Benidorm, stretching out. It is like New York on the Med. And you can sit there and have a cocktail. I had a sunset, which was this wonderful mixture of local liqueurs and fruit. We went downstairs to this sort of Art Deco bar, the Exotico. Please go, if you go to Benidorm, and visit the Exotico. Now it has a young vibe. There's a stage where they have different sort of artists singing. I hope the excitement and the pleasure those few days in Benidorm and places, so you can really feast with the finest. Or you can go down, right back down to your fish and chips. There's nothing wrong with fish and chips at all. But there is the range there. And to think that Benidorm's been tarred with this brush of only having the fish and chips is really quite outrageous. So, in conclusion, what would I say as the reasons for you to maybe change your mind about Benidorm and go and visit? Why? Well, to wrap up, you've your 300 days of sunshine. You've a most clement weather, because even in the hot weather you get the breeze off the beach. You've got the wonderful great beaches, the 3 blue flag beaches of Benidorm. You can go from posh to very, very basic. You can do any number of water sports, and we saw that happening from hang gliding to water ski. There's so many sports you can there. The roads around are thronged by cyclists from across Europe who want to experience the hilly conditions, particularly from the Netherlands where it's very flat. So cycling is big, paddle tennis is big. All of the sporting excellence centre, which is being built just out of Benidorm, is attracting a huge number of recreational adventure holiday makers. The free theme parks are attracting absolutely offering everything a family needs to be entertained, and we saw lots of families there. Of course, there is the accessibility. Benidorm has made it its business to make sure that if you are in some sort of assisted and you need assisted transport, whether that's a scooter or a wheelchair, you will have no problems whatsoever. It's been voted the best place on the planet for that. And then, of course, you have the best of tapas, the best of local foods, and a range of food from the top to the bottom, and such fabulous wines, and a very welcoming people. And that brings us back to how much that glass of Rioja wine that we sipped as we looked over glorious Benidorm as the sun set and the warm gusts of winds came over the valley. It was not €12, no. Did you guess at 13 plus? 5-star hotel, a glass of Rioja Reserva. €13? No. It was not even over €10. Dear listener, we paid in the 5-star Melia Hotel for a glass of wine sitting in the lap of luxury the princely sum of €3.50. I think that really sums up, for me, the wonder of Benidorm. It's full of surprises. So surprise yourself, go there. You will not regret it.